Good morning. I'd like to welcome those in the chamber as well as those online with our Zoom meeting. I believe we're up and going. Today is Tuesday, the 20th day of October, 2020. This is the Weber County Commissioner Office. And we'll be having our meeting here beginning with Pledge of Allegiance by Shelley Hallisey, invocation by Sean Wilkinson, and thought of the day will be Commissioner Jenkins. I'm joined today by Commissioner Jim Harvey to my right, Commissioner Scott Jenkins to my left. Again, welcome. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. Shelley.
Please stand and join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful to come before Thee this morning, grateful for this beautiful place where we live and the freedoms that we enjoy in this great country. We pray this morning for our elected leaders on a national, state, and local level, that they may receive inspiration, that they may be wise and make good decisions that will benefit each of us as citizens. We also pray that in our area that we may receive rain and that we may have that water that we need to sustain our prosperity here in Weber County and in this state. We also pray that each of us may do our part to be kind, to think of others and serve and make this world a better place. And we ask for these blessings in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. So, you know, my thought of the day has to do with our fiscal responsibility as a county. We will go through this in detail when we get into our budget hearings. But in the 2.5 years I've been involved here, we've worked really hard at not indebting ourselves, of paying our debt off, be fiscally responsible about the way we've purchased things, and we've just worked really hard at doing these things and these believing and working these principles. So I was thinking about this. I think this year we've retired 2 or 3 bonds. We've refinanced a couple of bonds to 1.1%. We continue to look at financial opportunities. We've been able to build some buildings and pay cash for them. That's happened. In fact, that just is happening right now. Bryce Taylor and our, what department's he called? Operations. We built a couple of pole buildings for him and moved him to a new location. And we've been able to do all of this because of our fiscal responsibility here. The fact that we've kept ourselves out of debt, and we've been tightwads a little bit. And that's good. Now, we've been fortunate. I don't want to say that we're not fortunate, because our revenues have been up a little. But our revenues this year were down. And we didn't panic because of it. We had the financial wherewithal to work around it, and we just kept moving forward. And it's because we'd been fiscally responsible prior to this point. We tore our parking structure down next to us. It was falling in. And we'd set aside the money to do that, so we didn't have to bond or go in debt for it. And I'm painting a picture here that's starting to evolve in the county. We happen to have 3 commissioners that have a desire to be fiscally conservative and cautious in the way that we approach our finances. And it's starting to look better every day. Every day it's looking better. And I'm so proud to be part of this. and so proud to be putting ourselves in a position as a county where we can not only weather the storms, but we can do things and do it on a cash basis, and we don't indebt our citizenry. We represent them well, and we do things fiscally strong, and I thank both of you. It's because of our will as a group to do this that we've done it, and kudos to you for what you've done. I appreciate it from my point of view. So that's my thought of the day, commissioners. Fiscal responsibility is a good thing.
Absolutely. Great comments. And I think that the news is out. Our bonding agencies have agreed with that premise. The conservative nature of this commission, we had our bonding agencies keep us at AAA last week, as I've been told. Ricky, is that correct?
That's correct. Fitch has kept us maintained our AAA rating.
AAA. And the information that may not be known that Mr. John Bond passed on to me, there's only 2 counties in this state that have that AAA rating. Was his communication. And across the country, we're one of 72 counties out of how many? Over 3,000
Just over 3,000
counties.
counties. Yeah.
So we can be proud, commissioners. You can be proud of what we take on as a responsibility protecting those tax dollars. So agree with that very much. Thank you for that. Let's go to public comments. Anybody in the audience that would like to come forward? This point, now's the time to do that. Seeing none, do we have anybody on Zoom, Shelley? Nobody on Zoom. Okay. Since we're at public comments, and I'm going to take a personal privilege here and invite one of my former colleagues, who I know is never for a lack of word, and this is a great opportunity for me because he was usually the one in control of the mic, and I had to. So I'm going to put him on the spot. Former Speaker Greg Hughes, I had the pleasure of working with for 10 or 12 years, right here at the top, yeah.
Yes, sir.
And when he decided to quit, I said, okay, the fun's over. I don't have anybody to argue with or debate bills with, so I'm leaving too. So welcome, Greg Hughes.
We all kind of...
I wanted you to just take a few minutes. Appreciate you coming to Weber County and spreading the good word for us up here in Weber County. You continue to do great things for the state. I'm on record as saying that we could have used you very much as governor, but that's history. We're going to use you.
It's a little soon to bring that up right now.
Yeah.
It's a little sore. There's a little wound there. No, just kidding.
Greg, welcome. Take a few minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Weber County Commission. I just appreciate being here. Look, I love public policy. We worked on it a lot together. Two of the commissioners here, we were in the trenches together. The House and then the House of Lords. And this was, Commissioner, you would just yell at us, and then we do all the work, right? Is that how it worked? Anyway, we got great things happening in this state. It's what we worked on when I was in the legislature and served with my good colleagues when I was Speaker of the House. Ran a race, as you've painfully mentioned. We didn't win. I didn't win. But the policy still is there. The opportunities for this state are there. And I am fortunate to be able to continue to work on issues like a regional play of inland ports in our state. And what that means is Utah already enjoys with its freeways and its rail, because the Intercontinental Railroad came through here and things sprung from that. We have cargo flow of imports and exports that come through this state. Whether it stops here or not, it comes through here at a rate that no other state has ever seen. If we as a state, as we're growing and our population is growing, if we can capture that cargo flow and be more efficient with it, we'll see the jobs arrive. We'll see more economic opportunity. We have a president that has fought very hard for fair trade agreements. The Phase 1 trade agreement with China is under the premise of, hey, life's a two-way street. You can't bring us all of your stuff and not let us be able to manufacture and bring things to your immensely large 400 million people middle class. So he's fought for that. And we need to be more independent, make our own pharmaceuticals, make things as a nation that we've lost over time. And that manufacturing sector that's growing all of that can be realized in very productive ways in our state. And certainly Weber County is at the forefront of that because of the infrastructure and the workforce and all that you have here. So you may see me around, but I appreciate the time, and I look forward to future discussions. I think there's some very exciting things for our state going forward.
Thank you. Any questions for Greg before we lay him off the hook? Appreciate it. Thanks, Greg. We
Thank
actually
you.
look forward to this inland port discussion in a clear direction. I think we had a meeting this morning that expressed our Weber County opinion that we are the right spot at the right time, but we need to have some incentives come our way to make sure this is a good deal for the state and for Weber County.
Yeah, you have a good vision on your own. If you want to share that vision, there needs to be some partnerships brought for your review. I get that. So
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks.
Appreciate you with us. Okay, let's move now to Commissioner Jenkins.
Well, I just want to say thanks, Greg. It's good seeing you again.
Good to see you.
Okay, we're going to go on to our presentations. Presentation F1, we're going to hold until next week for Commissioner Harvey to finish up his research. So we'll move on to presentation by Weber State University, Initiatives and Updates. President Brad Mortensen. President, we sure appreciate you taking time out of your day to be with us and sharing some information on Weber State.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Brad and I also go a long ways back in the legislature. He remembers those late nights.
Yeah, we're cheering on then Representative and Senator Jenkins more than once, I think, to fund a building the last night of the session. But appreciate the opportunity to be here with all of you. This morning, and just share a couple updates about Weber State. And I know we had a chance to talk at the WACOG meeting. What was that, 2 weeks ago now, maybe? But appreciate this chance to come and maybe have a little bit more of a discussion, take a little bit deeper dive into some things that are really happening there up on campus. We are, in the middle of a pandemic. I used to say it feels like a slow summer semester day on campus, but I had a Zoom meeting get canceled last week. So I had a chance to go out and walk around a little bit, and it's kind of like a slow summer weekend on campus, to be quite honest. Some of those buildings that you all funded are not being utilized to their potential right now, as we're doing a lot of things online. I talked to a number of students. Students I talk to tell me that they really feel like their faculty members are going above and beyond, though, to make sure that they're engaged and they're having a good experience. I hear from a few students on email, and it's not universally that way. We still have some work that we're trying to do to make sure everyone has the type of education that they deserve. But we're working to try to accommodate that, and as you all know and hear in your positions, undoubtedly, folks are all over the place right now. And some are really scared of the virus and the spread that's happening, and others want to just move forward. And we are trying to balance all those interests and provide a variety of ways to take classes, to engage in activities, to a variety of ways for our staff and faculty to teach and provide the support for students that they need. So we're really trying to balance all of those objectives, and we feel like we've done a pretty good job, at least as evidenced by our graduation for last year was record numbers, even as we came out of spring and through summer, people having to adapt to the pandemic that way. Our retention for our first year students from last fall coming back this year is at an all-time high for Weber State. It's 56.4%. We want that to be higher, but that's still a record. We have more first-time students enrolled than we've ever had. So a lot of positive things are still happening on campus. Couple other things I wanted you to know is that we're undertaking a strategic planning process right now, and some folks have said, this is how can you expect us to do strategic planning on top of balancing all of these other efforts where we're having to learn and figure out how to reteach classes and everything. But now's the most important time for us to be doing strategic planning, I think. We've learned a lot about what we can do through technology, learned a lot about what's happening in the world around us, and if we don't plan our future, now someone else will do it for us. So we're undertaking a strategic planning process. We've got 5 task forces working on campus to help us figure out how to increase our retention and completion rates, how we can increase our community support, how we do a better job with our learning, the learning experiences that we provide with our students, how we address issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus. And then the 5th area is maybe, it's hard to say it's most important, but one thing that we struggle with is how do we market the campus better? I hear all the time that Weber State is the best kept secret, and people tell me that, and it's intended to be a compliment, but we don't want to be a secret. We want to make sure that folks know the great things that are happening, and that's part of the reason for taking some time today. Some exciting things that are on the horizon for us is we have a couple of new graduate degree programs that have recently been approved. Masters of Social Work program, which we've worked very closely with the Department of Human Services on, and really trying to amp up the potential for folks in that area to produce graduates that are needed to help address a lot of the social and mental health issues that we're seeing in our community. So we're enrolling students right now to start that program next fall. We have a couple of accreditation hurdles that we'll be hopefully navigating in the meantime, and are excited for that. Also, our Board of Trustees approved last month a new physician assistant program that we'll be offering at Weber State. That will probably start in the fall of 2022. There's a number of accreditation requirements that have to be met on that one before you can start offering classes, but we feel like that helps position Weber State strongly in the health professions arena, which is one of our strongest areas. It's where we have the most graduates to continue to meet frontline healthcare provider needs in our community. So we're excited about that. We have visitors coming next month to have our mechanical engineering program accredited. That by ABET, which is the gold star for engineering programs. That program is already underway. We've been oversubscribed in the enrollment from what we projected for that, so we're excited about that. I shared the numbers of what we've seen in our electrical engineering program at the WCOG meeting, but just to remind you, we've had 171 graduates in that program since it got started in 2010 at the direction of the legislature, and 153 of those are working as engineers in Utah. And the majority of those are at Hill Air Force Base. So we think we have a really strong track record of being able to produce the workforce that's needed for our region and then have them stay and work here, which is really important. Our enrollment for this fall is still, we maintained overall about where we were at last year, which we feel good about. And again, that's a positive sign, I think, for the future if we can maintain that and then continue to grow in some of these key areas that are aligned with workforce needs. Our School of Computing is graduating more this is another best kept secret. It's graduating more computer scientists than any other program in the state. We hear a lot about Silicon Slopes in areas south of here, but we have a top-notch program here in northern Utah, and a lot of workforce potential between what's happening at Hill and other areas, and so we're excited about that. Commissioner Harvey, I know, had a chance to join us last Friday afternoon for our town hall meeting about the new governance system. And I want to report to you that President Taggart, I promoted him. Don't want to do that. Maybe one day he can aspire to be like all of you. But President Taggart and I are absolutely committed to work with the new board, work with our boards of trustees to make sure there's strong alignment between the programs that the Tech College offers and that Weber State offers, and aligning with our school districts too, with the Ogden and Weber school districts. We meet regularly with the superintendents and the tech college presidents and myself to talk about things that we can do to help provide those educational opportunities. And we're hoping that we can really be the model not only for the state but nationally on how those partnerships can work. We have 29 articulation agreements across the 2 technical colleges in Weber State now, and we have 5 more that are under development. But more importantly than just those agreements, last year we had 560 students graduate with associate's and bachelor's degrees, about half and half, who had articulated credit from a tech college to Weber State. So that means they did not have to go back and repeat something. They were able to apply credit from the tech college to come to Weber and get their degree. And that's the type of outcomes that we are proud of and that we hope to grow more and more through this partnership that we're so committed to. Moving forward, and I talked about some of this at the WCAG meeting, I don't want to repeat stuff because I know you're all listening very tentatively to everything that I said that day. But we're really excited to be offering some of these short-term training programs that the state provided. We received just under $2 million to provide short-term training, everything from computer coding, to entrepreneurship, how to pivot your food business in a pandemic, the Law Enforcement Academy, cybersecurity, business analytics, systems engineering. So we're trying to enroll about 1,200 students in those programs to get some type of degree or certificate that'll give them the leg up in this time during the recession and the unemployment that we're seeing. And so that program's going very well, and we appreciate legislative support for that. Touching on your thought of the day, Commissioner Jenkins, Weber State's very fortunate going into this that we were in a strong financial position. The state board does some business analyses to check, how much cash do we have on hand versus how much debt do we have versus our revenues to pay off the debt and those things. And Weber State's consistently been ranked the last 5 years as the first or second in the state for having the strongest financial position. And we're really benefiting from that as we see other institutions struggling with some of their financial situations. We haven't had to do any furloughs or across-the-board layoffs or anything. We have just implemented a voluntary separation incentive program that will try to achieve some natural attrition that way in our workforce and be a little leaner going forward. But we feel like we're in a really strong spot financially. I do appreciate the Commission and the county working with us on providing some CARES funding, and we're still finalizing that, I know, but I appreciate reaching out, and we've been fortunate to get some CARES funding from the federal government with a lot of strings attached and directed pockets, and this is going to allow us to address some scholarship needs for Weber County residents and some other things that we haven't been able to quite get to through the other CARES funding that we've received. So really appreciate your support there. A couple more pieces of good news. I have a trivia question that I even stumped Rob Alexander with, the voice of the Wildcats. And that question is, what does the 1995 Weber State men's basketball team and the 2020 Weber State supply chain competition team have in common? And in case you don't know, the answer to that is they both defeated Michigan State in the first round of their national tournaments. The difference is, though, that our supply chain team this fall went on to win the championship in this supply chain case competition that's hosted in Detroit at Wayne State University, sponsored by GM. It's kind of the premier supply chain competition in the country, and our group of 4 students went back there and mopped up all the other schools, Iowa, Indiana, Purdue, Michigan State, and a lot of the other schools. It'll have a little better name recognition nationally. So that's just one indicator of a lot of great things that are happening on campus. I also wanted to share that I was pleased to be asked to help sign this statewide compact on climate and clean air 2 weeks ago now. that was organized based on some work that came out of the Gardner Policy Institute at the University of Utah. Weber State really is a leader on sustainable practices. We're saving $2 million a year in our energy bills that were based on a $5 million base budget that we had in 2010. And we've added space since then and are still spending about $3 million a year. So we feel like we have some really strong practices that way. We want to do more to get that more broadly into the community. So if there are ways that we can partner with the county or anyone else, businesses in the area that you come across, please don't hesitate to reach out. We have folks who are really excited to be engaged in that area. With that, I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about today. That's not too duplicative from the WCOG discussion, but would be happy to respond to any questions, comments, concerns that you're hearing about the university that we can address. And just know that I'm committed personally, and that our team is committed to work with you and the team from the county to make sure our communities can thrive and be successful.
Great. Thank you for that, President. Questions for the President? Commissioner Harvey. Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, I do have some comments here. Man, you brought up a lot, President. First of all, I want to mention the engineering degrees. Me and Commissioner Frohr were in the trenches in the fight on that.
Yep.
Down there when we were in the legislature, and we knew it'd be successful. And all these other big schools, you're a pretty big school, but anyway. They were doomsdayers and told us how it ruined the programs, and it didn't. And it just tickles me when I hear you talk about your graduates and how they're employed in the state and how so many are at Hillfield, and that's just wonderful. And now to see you get in a mechanical engineering program makes me happy too. I have a son who was in your program and transferred to Utah State to finish as a mechanical engineer. And it just makes me really happy to see that finally be coming here. So that's really good. 529, was it, that graduated with
560, yeah.
From a technical college.
Yeah.
That just tickles me. We used to fight about that down there.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't understand why that articulation couldn't take place. Well, finally it's happening. So that just makes my heart warm up and pitter-patter a little more when I hear that. When you talk about supply chain, I'm in the supply chain. That's what my business is. And that's turned into a very complicated technical business. And you wouldn't think it would. But when in my case, we handle about 35,000 different items. When you look at the demand whereon you have to furnish those items and the purpose of a supply chain, you say, well, people can get those other places. And they can. It's interesting to see the disruption in the supply chain. When you look at Amazon and, they've moved into the supply chain business. And our local bricks and mortar people, they're absolutely putting some of them right out of business. So you say to yourself, well, and my business where we handle large items that are heavy and hard to ship, like large commercial water heaters and anyway, a lot of those kind of things, truckloads of steel pipe and things like that. It's a little tougher for them to disrupt our supply chain. But there's no question that it was interesting to listen to you talk about that. That's becoming a very complicated, complex business across the country. And finally, we toured your net zero home the other day, and were graciously met by the folks who took us through there. And that was so interesting to see what you guys have done on that home, and the example you set, and I was way impressed with what you did, and it was a lot of fun to go up there and watch that, and I wanted you to know that I appreciated that.
Glad you took the time to go
You
look.
bet. It was a lot of fun to go see that. Anyway, President, you're doing a great job, and we knew you were when we supported you Commissioner Ford and I will remember that. When they were looking, we made calls and we talked to the state board members to push your name, and I'm really glad we did because it turned out great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Harvey.
I just, if I can, just
Go ahead.
Get a little personal, Brad. I remember meeting you for the first time. It was 4 years ago, and it was in the Alumni Center. And you've been you've just been a great leader. From the first time I've met you, you're a man of honesty and integrity, and I can see that you're surrounded by great people as well. And the fact that you're fiscally in a good place for our university doesn't surprise me. And with guys like Tarbox and others that have just really done a wonderful job up there. Norm's a great guy, and I'd like to say I grew up with James Royal Taggart. He was the, and I'm going to use this word, Tim, you can write this down. James Taggart was the snot-nosed kid up the street, the young kid up the street when I lived about 4 houses away. He was wonderful. I've known him his whole life. Great, great man. And of all the leaders in our area, 2 guys to get together, I can't think of 2 better people to put those programs together. Greatly needed in our area. And I'm just, I'm privileged to know you. I just want to thank you for your leadership. The color purple is a merge of all the other colors. It's a nice blend, and so those who really want a school color that's quite perfectly blended, I think purple is the result of that. Just saying. From a colorblind person, I think I can make that.
Well, some of us are wearing purple today, in case you haven't.
That's good.
Which is an appropriate color. So, Brad, thanks again for being here. Obviously, I agree with all the comments made by my fellow commissioners. What I'm extremely proud of is the results that we've seen just over the past few years, and you've carried that to the next level, which is looking at our K through 12 programs, working with our technical colleges and obviously the university to look really at a seamless route so these people can go whatever route they want and come out with a degree or a certificate and get them a job at the end of the day. We weren't, as Commissioner Jenkins mentioned, we had a lot of discussion in the legislature where it was in silos. K through 12 stopped, your technical colleges stopped. Now we've seen that blended through, and boy, it's a perfect time for that to happen because a lot of people may not know this, but President Mortensen and Weber State have taken on the role of working with the Northern Utah Economic Development Alliance on workforce development, working with the companies, making sure that we supply the workforce out there to the community that's needed for economic growth. And we've seen that happen now with Northrop, with Hill Air Force Base, and with the engineering programs. I can't believe what may have been the situation if we hadn't approved those degrees back, a few years ago. So. Yeah. Again, congratulations. We appreciate what you're doing. You're involved with this community, hand in glove with our economic development, all the way through governance that we see taking place in the county. And you're a prime player in that. And I do appreciate all your efforts. Well, and everybody at Weber State as well.
Thank you. Thank you all for your kind words. It certainly wasn't my intent just to come down here to have you say nice things, but to convey that really, we want to be seen by you and all the members of our community as someone who's, sitting down at the table, helping to solve problems and figuring out ways that we can all move forward together. So if you please remember that, and you all know how to get a hold of me. And or for any issue at Weber State, you can reach out to me and we'll figure out who the right person is to resolve things. But thank you very much for your leadership and the time that you spend to make our community great.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate you being here. Okay, Commissioners, let's move now to our consent items. The first of those being a request for approval of warrants 3170 through 3184 and number 453 794 through 453 913 in the amount of $746,164.39. 2, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $76,589.81. 3, request for approval of minutes for the meeting held on October 13, 2020. And finally, 4, request for approval of the minutes to the combined meeting of the Weber County Commission and the Davis County Commission held on October 14, 2020. That's the consent items. Commissioners, questions or comments? Ricky's waiting.
I do have questions. Ricky, maybe you can tell me what did we buy from Bell Janitorial for $33,000? I mean, that's enough for cleaning supplies for the county for a year, seems to me.
Yeah, that was cleaning supplies at the jail.
For a year?
I suspect. Let's see.
I don't know. I didn't really expect you to have an answer to that, frankly. But that was a ton of cleaning supplies for the jail. The other question I had, man, I got so wound up in President Mortensen and his time here, I forgot what the second question was. Apologize, Mr. Chair. I'm amazed while I'm looking here at the amount of money that flows through our budget. Oh, this is the other one. It's West Coast Code Consultants for our budget inspection, our building inspectors. It says contract services. Is that some kind of a service that we purchase? Or, Sean, I figured you'd have an answer for that.
Sean, go ahead.
This is building inspection services that we hire out when we need
that's
extra
our
help.
subcontract.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have no problems then. All right. That's all. Those were my only questions.
Great. Thank you. Ricky, do you want to highlight?
You bet.
Just to be clear, West Coast would be the west coast of Weber County, not.
Yeah.
WC3 is what we call it.
There you go.
Go ahead, Ricky.
As far as those cleaning supplies for the jail, we have a little bit, Jason Horn just gave me details on those purchases. They purchased a couple of floor scrubbers, which go for about $10,000 a piece.
Is that it? Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
As far as purchase orders, we issued 13 this week for $77,000. 45% of that amount, or $34,000, is for the jail to purchase surgical gloves, nitrile gloves. A quarter of that amount, or $19,000, is for the transfer station, and that went to, or will go towards equipment repairs and emergency staffing. And then 13%, or $10,000, is for the road, and that will purchase crack seal. We issued 135 payments this week for $746,000. 43% of that amount, or $319,000, was escrow disbursements, mostly for the Overlook subdivision, but also we paid some impact fees back to Central Weber Sewer. 14%, or $104,000, was for the jail, which involved the cleaning supplies, the floor scrubbers, as we described, as well as HVAC work, some food for the inmates, and then counseling services as well. 8%, or $62,000, is for the attorney's office, primarily to renew their annual software subscription. 6%, or $42,000, was to purchase asphalt for the transfer station road widening. And then 5%, or $39,000, is for the library to purchase books and materials, pay utilities, and buy some barcode labels.
Thank you. Any additional questions for Mr. Hatch? I could just make a comment on the sheriff's cleaning, if I might. So I know that their costs are probably up on cleaning, but with COVID, basically in talking with the sheriff, they start one end of the jail, go through, start back again. So it's constant. The jail's under constant cleaning. And obviously the results are being paid off because of our low contract of the COVID-19 out there. So they're doing a good job. Okay, commissioners, that's the consent items. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
my motion is to approve the consent items G, 1 through and including 4.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you. Let's go to action items. H1. This would be a request for approval of a resolution of the County Commissioners of Weber County appointing members to the Weber County Ramp Board. Shelley Hallisey. Welcome, Shelley. Go ahead.
Thank you. We had 3 board members this year that their terms were up. So first I'd like to thank them. Marisha Boskeeter, who was our chair, maybe Marisha Burt now. Terry Scow was on our Arts and Museums and our Advisory Committee, and Ryan Wilkinson was on our Arts and Museums and Rec and Parks. So we published in the papers asking, and on Facebook, and asking everyone we know for applications to fill those positions. And this is what we received several applications. It was really hard to decide. A lot of diverse and very well qualified applicants. With that being said, this is what we've came up with. We are asking to appoint Jeremy Dunn as the chair of the advisory board, Steve Crane reappointed as the chair of the Arts and Museums Committee, and appoint Carla Woodward as the chair of the Recreation and Parks Committee. And then we would like to reappoint Lacey Richards to the Arts and Museums and also appoint her into the advisory board. Reappoint Renee Woods on the Arts and Museum Committee, and then appoint Ernest Gonzalez to the Arts and Museums Committee. And then we would like to add Corey Green and Kevin Burns to the Recreation and Parks Committee. Mouthful.
Great, thank you. That's the recommendations. Commissioners, questions, comments?
Corey Green, and who was the next one?
Kevin Burns.
Kevin Burns. Yeah, I know most of those, and I quite like them. I'd make a motion that we approve resolution number 37, appointing these folks as Shelley has outlined them.
Okay, we have a motion under resolution 37, I believe.
Second?
And we have a second.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Chair Farrar?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shelley? Okay, let's go to agenda item H2, request for approval of a $12,800 donation of Prop 1 funds to the Trails Foundation of Northern Utah for trail improvements and retaining wall design on the Pineview Loop Trail, which is approximately 7401 east, 500 north.
You know,
That would be an
Mr. Chair, can I interrupt you for a second? So, you know, before we get down to this, we kind of blew right through the ramp board. I'd just like to give a few accolades there. This is probably the most active board that we have in the entire county. And these folks take their job very, very seriously. And the reason we know it is because they do all their meetings in our chambers. So the days that they're there, we're walking past them all day long. And they spend hours and days in there over a period of weeks debating these awards and ranking them and trying to get them all just right. And we, of course, we're fortunate because we get to see the results of them. And it's really neat what they do. And, you know, it's a big debate that goes on whether you should tax yourself and what your taxes should go to. And this is one of those times where you see parks and museums and art projects, and we see different productions at the Egyptian Theater that gets funded with them, and there's these, and they're going on all through the county. And this adds so much to the county. I'm quite amazed with what they do with it. And many times, we're not the sole contributor. Because we give a little money, money comes in and matches it. And it just has a way of snowballing. And I'm just more and more impressed with this all the time, and the benefit we all get from this small amount of money that's put aside. I just wanted to mention that. Sean, apologize for...
Yeah, thank you for those comments. We've said before what a great group this, and how much time and effort they put into this ramp effort. And I would agree, you know, we trust their judgment as we disperse these tax dollars, and I've got full faith and confidence that they're putting the time in to make it right. So anyway, okay. No other comments. Sean, let's go back to our request for the $12,800 donation of Prop 1 funds to the Trails Foundation for improvements in retaining wall design on Pineview Loop Trail, approximately 7401 East, 500 North.
Hold on, Mr. Chair. If I may.
You may, if you're going to talk about...
I waited.
Talk about the Trails Foundation.
Yeah, I'm not going to. But I am going to just say, sitting back and just watching as things have changed over the last 30 months is wonderful. It's great to continue learning. Brad's not still here, but President Mortensen. But learning can be really a wonderful thing. And I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, now we can learn about Pineview Loop. I thank you.
Learn about that? Okay.
I was reflecting back to a time when Commissioner Jenkins, it's just great to see how things have warmed up. It's wonderful.
We like things warmed up a little bit, just not too hot. All right, I think we're there, Sean.
Sounds great. Commissioners, Trails Foundation of Northern Utah is requesting a donation, like you mentioned, of $12,800. This is actually for an engineering study for trail improvements and a retaining wall at 7401 East 500 North. This is just in front of Jeff Burton's property, if you're familiar with where he lives.
Yep.
In that area, the trail narrows down to just about 3 feet wide, and it's right on the traveled surface of the road. That's because there's a drop-off further off of the right-of-way. So building a retaining wall there will allow us to move the trail further off of the traveled surface. It'll make things safer, and it will keep people out of Jeff Burton's driveway, because right now they take a little detour, cut down onto his driveway, and then back up onto the trail, and that's caused some issues in the past. So with this $12,800, we can get that engineering done, and then I'm sure there may be another request to actually build that retaining wall and improve the trail in that area.
Thank you.
So, Commissioners, originally you approved $200,000 in the 2020 budget. We have spent, with this request, if it's approved, approximately $135,000 of that $200,000. So we've still got $64,000 left for other requests that may come this year.
And we still have additional Prop 1 funds.
We do. Yep. Correct. That was just the budgeted amount. Yep.
Yeah. And that $200,000 was all Prop 1 funds, as I remember.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And in my opinion, they've done a great job in making sure that when we passed through that $200,000 appropriation, we made it, we tied it in with projects, not operations.
Correct.
So we wanted to make sure that those dollars went to projects just like this.
Yes.
And Commissioner, I can tell you, I have been there on this trail a number of times, and it's very easy to take that right turn versus a left turn, and all of a sudden you're at Jeff Burton's front door. not that I don't mind stopping and seeing my friend Jeff every now and again, but I think he gets tired of people on his doorstep.
Sure.
So this is a needed project.
Yes.
Commissioners, questions, comments?
Timeline of when that's going to be started?
The engineering study will start right away. The bid has already been put out and received back, and then construction would be next year.
Great. Great. Mr. Chair, if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Motion to approve the, sorry.
Well, I was just going to comment on this. As I look at this, Sean, and where they're planning on putting this retaining wall, you know, this is off the edge of the road, and it's between the road and the dam.
Yes.
And I would think that a simple retaining wall with maybe some of those 2x4 cement blocks or something like that would be relatively simple to put in there. And if they pour a decent cement foundation under it, I would think that thing would last forever almost.
We hope so.
Yeah, and so, you know, some of these retaining walls, if they get this fancy block on it that looks, you know, becomes so expensive you can't afford to put them up hardly.
Right.
But if you get some of this stuff that's readily available, like these cement blocks, and easy to put in, and they last long time, they're really good. So anyway, I would just encourage them to look at that.
Absolutely. As part of that study, we anticipate them looking through all of those options and coming up with that final design.
They can also face them and do some really neat
Yeah.
things now.
I just,
Okay, I think we had a motion.
I'll make that
Commissioner Harvey.
motion to approve item number 2 on our agenda to approve the Prop 1 funds for the Trails Foundation Northern Utah.
I will second
We
that.
have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Let them know it's done. Okay, takes to our part of agenda for commissioner comments. Commissioners, time's yours. Commissioner Jenkins.
Well, I've said a lot today. I'm not sure I need to say anymore. It's just really good working with you, commissioners, and I see Timmy laughed. We just love working with Tim and the Standard these days. He reports very fairly on us what we do, and if he feels we're out of line, he will mention it, and I just think he does a good job. And the Standard right now, I think, is doing a good job on us, fair with their representation of what we're doing. And anyway,
Yeah, it's great to work with.
Yep.
Commissioner Harvey.
No further comments, Mr. Chair.
No further comments. Okay, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carries. Thank you, we're adjourned.